Hello, and welcome to today's episode. The Bible is referred to as the living Word of God. It isn't a book that is meant simply to be read. It is a perspective-altering substance that is meant to be ingested and absorbed into you. And when it becomes a part of you, it changes you. And that is exactly what it is meant to do. A psalm is a spiritual song based on a profound foundational insight that is expressed in the form of music, which is usually played on a harp. This is my own paraphrase of the Psalms. Now, there is an important difference between a paraphrase and a translation, and it is important to understand what that difference is. A translation takes a text word by word, and it finds the most accurate word in another language to convey the meaning of that original word. But sometimes getting the details right can come at the expense of the big picture. For example, the literal translation for a butt dial and the literal translation for a booty call could end up being exactly the same if they were both translated very literally into another language. But we all know that those are two very different ideas. A paraphrase, on the other hand, is attempting to capture the spirit of the idea that is being expressed. But both approaches come with their own disadvantages. Sometimes the most literal translation for each word, while technically accurate, loses something in its translation. For example, if you were to translate the phrase, "cat got your tongue," into another language, it would make no sense to them. Why would a cat grab your tongue? What are you even talking about? In order to convey the original idea, you would have to find out which saying is used in that other language to express the same concept. But it might not involve a cat, or even any animal at all. So the literal translation would not be a very accurate one. But in a case like the one that I just described, the idea is more important than sticking to a very literal translation that loses all of its intended meaning. However, because paraphrases are an individual's interpretation of the underlying idea, instead of a rigorous academic translation of the word, they are not as objectively accurate as a translation is. A paraphrase is a lot more subjective, and that makes it much more susceptible to interpretations that are way off the mark of the original text's intent. The focus of a translation is on detailed accuracy, and sometimes the broader picture is not conveyed very clearly as a result. The focus of a paraphrase is on painting that big picture, but it often loses the accuracy of the finer details. Both are useful as long as you understand which is which, and what the disadvantages to each approach are. And that is why I recommend using both an accurate translation, like the New American Standard, and a responsible paraphrase. To introduce this psalm, allow me to paraphrase the great Charles Spurgeon in The Treasury of David. More than any other psalm, this is the psalm of the cross. Christ may have actually repeated this psalm when he was hanging on that horrific torture device. It would be too bold to make that claim outright, but even a casual reader can see that this might have been the case. After all, This psalm begins with the exact same words that Jesus, in his most profound moment of anguish, cried out on the cross when he said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" And the psalm ends with the phrase, "He has done it," echoing the same idea as the final words of Christ, "It is finished." As Charles Spurgeon noted, for plaintive expressions uprising from unutterable depths of woe, we may say of this psalm, there is none like it. Jesus, quoting the opening line of this psalm as he hung on the cross, can be found in Matthew 27:46 and Mark 15, verse 34. Additionally, Matthew 27:35, Luke 23:34, and John 19, verses 23 through 24, record the soldiers casting lots to determine who would win his clothing. Matthew 27:39 records the bystanders that day jeering at him and wagging their heads. Matthew 27:43 even records the specific taunt of, "He trusts in God. Let God be his deliverer, and deliver him now if he takes pleasure in him. For this one said, I am the Son of God." All of these events were the fulfillment of messianic prophecies that came from this psalm. Isaiah 53:3 also echoes the theme that runs all through this psalm like a thread, especially in verse 6, which refers to him being despised by the people. Isaiah said, "He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with suffering. And we hid our faces from him. He was despised, and we esteemed him not." 2 verses later, in Isaiah 53:5, he added, "But he was pierced for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement that brought us shalom was upon him, and at the cost of his lacerations we are healed." Zechariah 12:10 also prophesied of that day, saying, "And I will pour out upon the house of David and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and of supplications for favor. And they shall look upon me, whom they have pierced through, and they shall mourn for him as one mourns for his only son, and shall grieve in bitterness for him, as one that is in bitterness for his firstborn." Psalm 22, Part A, the first 10 verses. To the music director, a psalm by David, set to the tune of "The Deer of the Morning Dawn." My God, why have you forsaken me? I've been abandoned. I am left completely alone as I convulse in unbearable pain. So why don't my cries of anguish bring the help of your saving grace any closer to me? Why are you too distant to respond to the groans of my suffering? When will it finally end so that I can be set free? My God, there is not a single moment of peace left for me. No silence. I cry out to you all day long, but you do not seem to hear, for you do not answer me. I do the same thing all through the endless night, but still I get no relief. There is no respite from my torment, not a moment's rest to be found. Even so, you remain truly perfect in everything that you do, and it is right that you are enthroned within the praises of Israel. For we know very well that our parents trusted and relied on you, and we also know how you were there for the generations that came before us. Our ancestors trusted you, and you forged a path for them to freedom. They turned to you with their trust, and they were not disappointed. They were not left humiliated by the good decision that they had made. But I am too low to qualify as a man. I am like a worm that gets trampled under other men's feet. I am looked down on by everyone, and I am openly despised, even by my own people. I have become the butt of every joke. Every time that I am noticed by anyone, they all gather around, but only to jeer and mock me. I watch as their faces twist up into ugly sneers. Then they shake their condescending heads and wag their elite fingers, all the while flapping their lips at me non-stop, saying, "See, he turned his life over to the Most High, as though that has worked out for him. Now the Most High can help him and set him free, if he delights in him so much. But it looks like this love affair is tragically one-sided. Yet it was you who brought me out of my mother's womb and into the world. You laid me on my mother's breasts and taught me what it was to trust for the first time. Since the moment of my birth, I have had to depend on you, and you have cradled me from the moment that I drew my first breath. You have been my God from the very beginning, before I was even born. For you were there with me from the time that I was growing inside of my mother's womb. I pray that whatever voice God might choose to give me in this world, he would also give me the words that I should use it for. These words have meaning for me, and if they had some meaning for you as well, then I am truly grateful that we have both been given a gift from above and from each other. Have a good day out there, my friends.